All right, Lila, how you doing? Welcome to the studio.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming all the way east. I know that is not easy when you're on the west side and you got to cross the 405.
I crossed the 405 and the 10. I mean, now we sound like the Californians, but yeah, it was hell. Definitely hell. It's like going to another country.
Yeah.
Yeah, all good. It's worth it.
You know, it's funny. I've always lived in countries that had like public transportation,
Yeah.
and being here in Los Angeles is just bizarre that no one has ever thought that that would be a good investment.
Well, America at large. I mean, besides New York City, you've got like the lack of public transportation is crazy to me. I mean, even DC, which we'll get into, but I did grow up in DC and they've just now finished the, subway to outside of Washington, DC to the suburbs because everyone works in DC
Yeah.
just now
Yeah.
after, like, years and years.
2026, finally getting it done. So, we obviously know a few similar people in this space, and you're obviously kind of a relationship guru and helping people on various paths and journeys. But I'd love to kind of go back to the very beginning. So, where are you from originally?
So I was born in New York City.
Hmm.
My mom is Italian, and my dad is Pakistani.
Oh,
They met there. It's like the melting pot of the time, right? I was born in 1975, so I've dated myself, but yeah, that was a long time ago. And from there, we moved, to no, actually, we moved to Italy for a little bit, but I don't remember have a lot of memory of it because my brother was born, and then we were really little, and then we moved to Pakistan.
mhm.
So, I lived in Pakistan for, let's say, until I would 1st grade, 2nd grade? Equivalent. We're in the British system, so it's a little bit fuzzy where when it was, but, we lived in Islamabad during that time, and I went to the American school there. Then we moved back to New York, then Washington, DC.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a world journey.
it's a world journey. It is, and it's, you know, connecting me to so many of the cultures that otherwise it's hard to experience when you live in America, and even though you have foreign parents, you don't always get to experience living in the countries that they're from. And I got to, and I went back to Italy later on, and we can get to that, but yeah, so I'm definitely, lucky that I got to experience that.
Yeah, Pakistan is really interesting. It's one of the few countries I haven't been to,
Oh.
and I was planning actually in 2020 to do the trek up to the K2 base camp.
Ugh,
A
yep.
and my goal was actually someday being able to climb Broad Peak, which is the big one just next to K2, also 8,000 meters, but, never made it.
I went up Nanga Parbat, which is the 7th tallest peak in the world, I believe, and, it was the most incredible experience I've ever had, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you climb mountains too?
I don't climb, I hiked.
Yeah.
So, I don't know as much as, like, and we went I think the base camp there was about 6, maybe 7, close to 7.
Mhm,
Not quite sure, but I know it was really tough.
mhm.
But we were really it was interesting, so it was a group of 30 of us that went out there, and only about 8 of us actually made it to the peak, because of various reasons. People got sick along the way and, just couldn't make it physically. Here we are, like, Patagonia gear. We get up to the top. We're hugging each other because we're so proud of ourselves, and then up comes, like, this shepherd, with his sheep and his, like, sandals, basically, and his little shavas, which are, just cotton gear. It's like and he does this every day. So we're like, "Okay." Like, reality check, but, it is beautiful up there. I was like, "This is what heaven just feels like." It's
Mm.
incredible.
Yeah, that whole Karakoram range is quite spectacular.
Yeah.
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 It's on my bucket list. I need to get there at some stage. So what was it like kind of going on that world tour and then coming back to America? I mean, it was so you were so young.
Yeah.
You probably don't have real formal memories of it, but
No, I actually do.
yeah.
It's interesting because there are points in my life probably that I don't have, like, profound memories from, but that part of my life, I do have a lot of memory, and the reason why is because it was shocking. We came, from Pakistan to the DC area, and, we stood out as a family and as individuals, right? So my brother and I, we dress differently, we kind of speak differently a bit. We didn't have a British accent, but we just didn't have that American way around things, of being. My mom always dress up. She's Italian, so, she's in heels all the time and, not a PTA mom. My dad also suits, just very, very foreign in a place where I don't know if they were really ready for it. So there was a bit of the struggle for sure in the sense that like, you know, uncertainty around our identity for sure, like, oh God, we're different. And
When multi-ethnic families were still not quite a thing yet.
exactly, exactly. My mom and dad both spoke Italian. My mom spoke Italian to us as kids, and the school told her not to speak Italian to us because it will hinder our English. And which is so interesting because now it's like, oh, everybody wants to have a second language, right? But back then they're like, no, that's not going to do them any good, and they'll fall behind if you're speaking another language at home.
Just another fail for the school systems.
100%.
Yeah.
I think my parents were young parents, by the way, so they didn't know kind of any different, and they're just like, "Okay, well, whatever happens, they'll learn Italian at some point." Um, but we always heard it, so at least I had the ear for it. That and just not fitting in. I mean, we just didn't fit in, honestly. It was interesting for years, it was like trying to fit in became this theme, like, "Can we wear different clothes?" And my parents just fought that, they were like, "No, you're just not gonna be like everyone else." Like, "But everybody's wearing the OshKosh B'gosh shorts, can I have them too?" "No, you're not gonna wear those."
You would think like DC would be a little bit more multicultural because of all the global embassies that are based there and all the international students and kids and families that are also based there.
True, but we were outside of DC, so we weren't living within DC, and so there's, like, that, Beltway area that's around, which is made up of Northern Virginia and Maryland, and so we were just outside of that, and yes,
Hmm.
there are there are at least some, kind of differences, but back then, it wasn't really prevalent. I mean, I don't remember ever experiencing or having friends that were from different cultures. It was very American focused in my area.
Oh yeah, like I grew up in Toronto, and I grew up in Toronto before it was this multicultural wonder that it is today.
Yeah.
Like all the schools I went to were almost 100% Caucasian when I was growing up. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
I mean, we really look different, dress different, acted different, the whole shebang. So, and my parents were hell bent on just keeping us that way. I mean, my dad would be like, "Yeah, I don't want you to become so American." And I was like, "What does that mean? I don't even understand?" And I think what he was meaning and my mom was meaning behind it was, let's not lose our culture, our culture differences. And they were afraid to allow us to kind of conform into this, way of being because that might mean that we're going to lose our culture, pattern, whatever. I don't know. But it made it hard.
What is the American culture? Like I've been here, off and on for my whole life, growing up in Canada, just north of the border. Still, a lot of Americans don't really know where Toronto is, but we are there, just north of New York State, across the lake, and like I've always been trying to put my finger on like what is American culture, what is American cuisine, and it's hard. Like, Italians, you close your eyes, you can picture it. But what is it like? Is it American football and fast food, or is there something more going on here?
I think so. I think there's burgers, fries come to mind for sure,
Blue
the
jeans.
blue jeans. Right. You always think of like the kind of more cowboyish idea that, they're in jeans and they're kind of not dressed up and, you know, um,
Frontier Americans.
yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
like that, I think. And I would say definitely, just simple food, simple stuff. But the thing about beauty about America is that I would say what the culture is opportunity. And I think that has been prevalent always and since the test of time. People come here for opportunity. So what makes up that culture is that there are people who come here hungry for this opportunity to live a better life, to explore who they are, what they can do, because a lot of other cultures might squash that. And it's free for all in that sense. It's like you can come from anywhere, whatever background, whatever education, and you can still make something out of your life. I think that's pretty much the culture summed in one. So the looks and the things and the way that they speak and all those things, I don't know, it's not so defined anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, I think they're just jean wearing folk.
That's true. No, not a lot of passports out there still though to this day.
Well, that was another thing. I mean, that was crazy for me. I mean, it's like crazy town when you come here and, and I would say to some of my friends at a young age, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I just came from Pakistan." And they're like, "Oh, did you go there by train?"
Yeah.
Things like questions that would be, you don't even know where that is on a map. And I couldn't believe things like that, right? A lot of people didn't have passports
Mhm.
at all.
There was a funny one. Um, Edward Snowden, the NSA spy
Yeah.
that leaked all the stuff a few years back. He's living in Russia these days. He had a really good comment. He was saying like he would be in CIA NSA meetings, and there would be people in those meetings at high level intelligence positions that didn't know the difference between where Switzerland was and where Sweden was.
Yeah. Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's just bizarre how inward looking this country is, especially when you've traveled and lived abroad, and then you come back and you start to rattle off the names of some countries or something like that, and the people's eyes just kind of glaze back.
I know, and I don't know what it is about particularly this country that, like, I put it down to that we're so hyper focused on our survival mode of living here, right? And seizing the opportunity and seizing the day and all that stuff that we just don't have the time. I mean, I'm not saying we, me, but
Yeah,
there is, I get it. I mean, since I've moved back to the United States from Europe, I will say to you, it's like I don't have as much time as I had in Europe. It's just crazy to me. And you feel guilty when you take time off. You feel guilty when you go on a vacation, and living in California, when you go on vacation, it's like 10, 15 hours away all the time. So, you just don't have the time for it. And I think you don't get to experience so many other cultures because you're so far away from it. So you tend to just stay within America. Like, okay, I have time for maybe going from California to Miami and, that's call it a day, right? I do think that that's because America's so big and it does have a lot of micro cultures within, the United States that maybe their interest or curiosity is just not there.
yeah, and there's 2 oceans on each side, so that
Right.
makes it also pretty difficult.
Totally.
Yeah.
And everything is far, and it is costly and it's definitely costly now. And so, um, and it's scary too, because, it's like if you've never been to another country who speaks only another language,
Mhm.
maybe they kind of have broken English, some of them, but like it is kind of scary to go, if you've never have been to that kind of place and, try to survive there or
I did something crazy when I was 22. I moved to China, and I didn't speak Chinese, and I didn't know anyone.
lost in translation. I love it.
Yeah.
But that's great.
Yeah, it was a great growing experience, and I learned a lot, and I stayed there for 18 years, actually, so it was pretty
It
powerful.
humbles you, right? It's like you just go, "Oh, right." I mean, there is so much more out there.
It really turns you into, like, a problem solver,
Yeah.
and then and then when you come back to North America and people try to throw problems at you, you just kinda bat them away like they're nothing, because these are not real problems, like,
Exactly.
not being able to order lunch is a problem, or not knowing where the grocery store is or how to buy a train ticket or something like that. Those are problems, yeah.
Yeah, I've been to China, and I remember, like, the first time I went, it was totally lost in it was crazy.
Yeah.
I was there on my own too, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I just wanna communicate." I would, like, write things down and see if they could read it.
Mhm.
Um, but it's exciting. You have to kind of want that and have a desire for it, and I don't know and like I said, I think people are so busy in America. We're busy. We're just busy all the time, and I think that is like they just don't find the time
Yeah.
or don't have the time.
That's orchestrated. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the corporate America doesn't want us to have too much time to think about, like, our life, or
Right.
what to do on our vacations, or how we'd like to work differently, and, of course, the government doesn't want you to have too much time and start thinking about fraud or investigating fraud, or just
Totally.
just pay your taxes and shut up.
Conspiracy theorists.
Absolutely, but those are the best.
I know.
So you came back to DC, you felt a little strange, I mean, or you came back to the DC area. Did you stay there, like, right through university?
So I did. I went to high school at Langley High School, talk about the CIA.
Mhm.
It's right next door to the CIA. And from there, I went to George Mason. So I was in that greater DC area.
Yeah.
Um,
What was it like growing up, like, a stone's throw away from the capital? I mean,
Interesting,
yeah.
very interesting. Like I feel look back now, um, I guess just we've talked about this, my friends and I from high school, that lot of our, friends' parents worked at the State Department, whatever that's supposed to mean, because that's like a broad sense of, are you a spy or you're not, whatever you are. But, it's quite interesting and, like, the dynamics at the households were, very mysterious,
Yeah.
say, a lot of politic talk for sure, my father brought that to the table as well, a lot. He used to read us The Economist
Mhm.
on the dinner table, so that was our intel.
Mhm.
Um,
When paperback was still a thing,
yeah,
when people actually bought magazines.
yeah, we didn't look up anything on the internet, that's for sure.
I rem
Have internet.
I remember living in China, and I had a subscription to The Economist, and it would show up, like, 2 or 3 days late, and I remember how exciting it was to get that because this was, like, I was living in China, the internet was censored, the news was censored, it was hard to get outside information, but that Economist came in, like, every week, and it was just
So great.
yeah.
So great too,
Mhm.
and broad, and there wasn't a at least it felt at the time, it wasn't, just a one-sided take on how things are going. I mean, my dad used to write to the Washington Post quite a bit, and get, posted because of, like, saying, "You got your facts wrong. This article's got the facts wrong. This is this." He used to kind of work in the government. He is a diplomat himself, or diplomat kid, sorry. So he used to work, with the government quite a bit, and yeah, he was very vocal about that, which is interesting, but I think everybody was. I mean, if I look back, my dad and mom used to have these crazy parties where there was, like, the senators and, people who were working at the State Department and, diplomats, and it was just, like, such a collective group of, people,
Yeah.
for sure.
It does attract a strange group, right? And it's funny, like, now no one knows what their parents do for work, but
Yeah,
they all work for the government, like, air quote, "State Department," like,
totally.
it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and I think till today, I don't even know how much my dad was involved with a lot of things. I know there was, like, the Afghan, Russia war, and there was a part that he was helping with that because of his connections in Pakistan and so forth, but
Mhm.
honestly, I don't even ask anymore. It's like, whatever, I just remember it, you're young and you're like, I don't I just it is what it is. You're not that curious when you're younger.
No, it's what happens when you get older and you're like, how did that all
I
work?" And
know, and he
you're trying to
laughs.
put everything together.
Yeah, he just laughs it off when I tell him, "This is what I think you were doing. This is what I think," and he just goes, "Ha."
Yeah.
So I'm not getting anything out of him.
No. And, like, may I ask what you studied in university? Like, what was your interests at that stage? Like, was it hard to find things that you were interested in the United States because you had this kind of global experience at such a young age?
You know, I okay, so going back to I'm gonna take it back to high school because what I wanted to say was that being different when I was younger became my superpower for sure. And there was like a place that it turned. I mean, not junior high, because who does that in junior high? It's crappiest time for most people, right?
You don't wanna stick out at all.
No, and you're just ugh, it's just a ugh. It's an icky 2 years, or 3 years depending on where you are, and, it was in high school, and I just remember like, oh, all of a sudden being different was actually cool, and being different was looked upon like, wow, curiosity, a little bit of more curiosity around it, and I really came into my own in that sense, and in sense of self, and really proud of my background and where I come from and who my mom is and who my dad is and all those things. So that I think I just wanted to circle back on because I think that kind of gave me this false sense of of like I can actually work with the government or I can become a spy.
Mhm.
Okay, and I think I watched way too many Bond movies.
As we all did.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was like, "Dad, I wanna become a spy," and he would just laugh. He's like, "Oh, really? Okay." So he's like, "Maybe you should learn how to use a gun." I'm like, "No. I don't wanna hurt anybody."
Mm.
So, I kind of realized that that's not gonna be my path forward. And I also have a level of, justice inside of me that I think it would be hard to work with this one-sided aspect of, the government or whatever
You're
you wanna.
always right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that, it's just justice. It's like, if you're doing something wrong, I can't stand behind it, and being a spy or working from these institutions or government institutions, they're not always doing the right thing, let's face it.
Yeah, there's a lot of gray.
Really? A lot, and so, I mean, I would probably find it really hard to kind of be settled in that kind of environment, but I did take international studies with the viewpoint of that and, a minor in anthropology because I was very interested in cultures and language and relationship dynamics. I think
Yeah.
at an early age, I was really just interested in all of that, how are people, you know, communicating? Working together, all of those things. I was on the debate, team, loved it. I'm not a litigator by any chance, and I don't want to have to like fight in these circumstances. I'm not that fighter, but I definitely love the idea of, hey, I'm really passionate about this, and so I'm going to speak my viewpoint. Doesn't mean I'm going to change your mind, but here are the reasons why I feel this way.
That's beautiful, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
when you can have a dialogue with someone that you disagree with and have it not turn into a screaming match.
it's amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wish we all had those, like, parameters around how debate, is structured because, yeah, I mean, nowadays, it's you lose friends and family for it.
I think we should all get a refund on our university educations because they taught us how to be critical thinkers.
Mhm.
And a lot of times they would ask you like, okay, Ryan, what do you think about this? And oh, what do you think about this? Okay. So now I want you to switch your opinions and debate. So you have to argue the other side of the opinion that you actually believe in.
Yeah.
And we had to do that all the time in class. And I just feel like, where is that skill now? Because you don't see it at all in the news media. You don't see it at all in politics. Everyone's just yelling at everyone else. No one's even trying to assume
Nope.
what might be going on in the other person's brain.
But they do that in debate. So if you go to debate club or you're a part of that whole debate society, they do that, and I think that's what's so beautiful. It's like they hold on to that, understand the other side. You might not like it, but understand it.
Yeah. Break bread with everyone.
Totally. I mean, I wish, that's a whole nother podcast we could put you talk about. Yeah.
So anthropology, international studies. I was really drawn to international studies, politics, and geography, and like this idea of like wanting to travel. So that I was curious too, because you traveled so much when you were a kid. I was wondering like if you were, in and around the DC area and just feeling stuck and feeling like you didn't have your wings or you couldn't be in different cultures or be in different ways of life. Like being in that DC area for like a decade or so might have been really challenging.
Well, it wasn't because we traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I really have to say my parents were so good. I mean, every summer we didn't go to summer camp. Maybe we did like a week of it or 2 of it, but we always went to Europe or Pakistan or somewhere. So it was like either going to visit family or experiencing something as a family, right? So that was we're lucky. And in that sense, I would say that so we never really felt like we were suffocating in that space. We also went to New York a lot because, my whole family, like a lot of friends were there and family friends were there.
The only train line in the United States worth taking to Washington, DC to New York.
Totally great. It's an amazing one. But we would take, I mean, this was back in the day, but my dad would pick us up from school and we just, on a Friday and go and drive up. Um, so yeah, I don't think I ever lacked that connection with culture and, the outside world. My parents really kept it also within our household a lot. I mean, my dad didn't, even though if he came home late, we ate with my dad. Like there was no family ate as a family around the table. We waited for him. Like, my brother and I were the only kids probably playing outside, at 6 o'clock PM because everybody was eating,
Right.
right? Out the kids were eating, but we would wait till he got home, and, it was really important we had that family dynamic and conversations at the dinner table.
Mhm.
So, they kept certain cultural things that just felt great, and again, they were huge entertainers, so we had, like, I would say a party a month, even maybe 2.
Wow.
And all these, insanely interesting people would come. Back then, we didn't have phones to distract us, so we were teenagers that were actually involved with, the parties and everything, or even young kids. So,
The good old days.
the good old days.
Before constant distraction.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And we would entertain them, we'd do the break dancing, we'd do all the things. So we were very much involved in all of that. And I think that really and to your point, it became as we got older, it really started becoming more of this melting pot,
Mhm.
right? My best friend in high school, British, came from Wales. There were people from Iran that I was really close to. all these people started coming into my life that was just like, "Oh, okay," and their home had these certain cultures too that you got to experience when you were at their house, so,
Mhm.
yeah, it felt more expansive for sure.
Yeah. So where did you just like, after coming through all those amazing experiences and now you're like 22, 23, what did you decide to do after university?
Aha, well, during university,
Mhm.
I did a study abroad program in Florence,
Oh,
in Italy. And I went there for a year instead of a 6-month program. And why? Because I decided to study in Italian there. So I did like a 6-month Italian intensive about over like economy, got all those credits done.
your mom must have been happy.
Yeah, she was happy. I mean, they missed us, it missed me. I mean, but my brother also went abroad later on and he was in Rotterdam. So I did Italy. I was in Italy, found myself an Italian boyfriend and it was like, okay, I'm going to go back to the States, do the work, finish school, and then get back to Italy. That was like my goal. It was kind of in my mind, and not just because of the boyfriend, but because I really enjoyed living in Italy. Once you get exposed to that kind of culture,
It's pretty addictive, isn't it?
very.
Healthy, pretty healthy food. They're not trying to kill you with bread and all the other stuff.
They live life to its fullest, and, you're kind of allowed to be a 20-year-old in a different way too there, which is nice. We're already doing taxes at home and, checkbooks back then, checkbooks and all those things. I was like, oh, all of that healthcare, having to have, like, insurance, all
Mhm.
those things that you're like, yeah.
Instead of just going out for dinner at 9 o'clock and having a few glasses of wine and talking.
And free healthcare.
Yeah.
So all of that, like no hospital is gonna turn you away and they're not gonna charge you. So all those things are very enticing, but regardless, I mean, obviously it's Italy, it's beautiful. Um,
And Florence is one of the best spots.
oh my God, it's magical. So I'm gonna tell you a really funny story because I was 10, so we'd go to Italy every summer. And I think when I was 10, maybe 10 or 11, I can't remember. I was 10, I think. And I was young. And I remember we were in Florence during one of their carnival. It was in July or June, whatever. And they had this massive like festival in the street. And there was these like people dressed up in, all these outfits. And it was so gorgeous. And I remember looking up at my mom, holding her hand and saying, Mom, I'm gonna live here someday.
Mhm.
Just that. Like I don't remember it until she actually told me, and then I started remembering. I was like, "Oh, yeah, I did say that." It is such a magical place,
Mhm.
and it's not for everyone because it is provincial and it is small and it's all those things, but, I mean, there wasn't a day that didn't go by that I looked up and was like, "Wow, I can't believe I'm in this place."
I had a similar experience. I was in Siena,
Gorgeous.
a long time ago, and I was there for the horse race that they do around the main square. Yeah, and I was just like, "This is fucking amazing. Like, I need to live in Italy at some stage in my life."
It's incredible, and they're so passionate around these things, and they hold those traditions
Yeah.
so, well, and that's, I think, the beauty about it. So we're going back to, like, these traditions that, that I think culturally, it's so important to even create your own. I mean, Americans do that. They have their own traditions. They've got the rodeo. They've got this. They've got things that they've created, which I think it brings a sense of community together and belonging.
Mhm.
So I definitely, loved my time there. So I was there for a year, and when I got back, I was, like, hell-bent on going back. I was working at National Geographic, which I told you before. I got a job there, in my last year in high school.
Oh,
I
wow.
sorry, my last year of university.
That
Um,
would have been great though, being there. What year was that? Because I probably know the photographers that were shooting during that time.
90, oh my god, what am I saying? So 93, I graduated university, so
Yeah.
98? No, 97,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
right? Like 97,
Yeah.
97, 98. God, don't ask me to do math. That is definitely not my strong point. But yes, so around there.
Steve McCurry, Michael Yamashita, those are all the greats from back in the late
Amazing,
90s, yeah.
amazing. But I didn't work for the magazine, so I worked for the TV in DC, section, and it was amazing because really what we got to do, I mean, honestly, I thought this was a job. I was like, "This is a job? I mean, this is crazy." All the pilots that came through, there was thousands and thousands of pilots that would come through, and our job was like we were a committee of people who sifted through, like, the kind that then went to the next level. It's like, "Okay, we're voting on this. We really like this. This is the reason why." And then we would take that reasoning to that next kind of committee, right? And it just went up the chain.
Mhm.
So I saw the most incredible pilots and most incredibly passionate people, spending so much of their time and life, filming and investigating these things around the world that are just like incredible. There was one that stood out was a guy who spent, I think, I want to say it was like 12 years in shallow water in the Keys, and it's in a seat like high up to get to be able to film sharks mating because like you don't even think about that, right? Well, I didn't think about that until I saw this, and I was like, oh my god, and what a dedication! Like he would sit there, and just in order to get like the film and understanding their dynamic and how they operate.
Mhm.
Because female sharks rule the school. So they're the ones that just pick and choose who they want to mate with and then they're done. Then I'll never see that shark again, which is incredible. But he got captured it on film,
Oh, wow.
which was incredible. So anyway, I got to like experience this was incredible.
That's a great introduction into television making and how these processes, how these pilots end up turning into actual programs.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
And the
but I was just
personalities behind them.
right, and this was back in the day. I mean, now the world has really changed on TV and film and YouTube and all those things, so people have more opportunity
Mhm.
to share that passion and that investigative, like, journalism or whatever you wanna call it, because it was I actually met the couple who created the, still cam for the camera that goes down on a seal,
Mhm.
that like, literally because the seal can go down under, in the water, like, I don't know, further down the water than any of the other mammal, I'm pretty sure, I don't wanna be quoting me on that, but, they would get footage from that, and, like, it was incredible. I mean, these people like, incredible people,
Mhm.
right? So, yeah, things have changed for sure, but I got to be a part of that experience, which forever was in, like, my heart, and I think that what what I learned in that experience actually was that let me be curious about what it is that is gonna light me up, right? I'm not gonna just get a job just to get a job. I mean, sometimes I will have to, that's for sure,
Mhm.
but it's like, if I have an experience that I want or I have a passion, go for it,
You have to,
right?
or because the window is so short.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
And National Geographic, because you're so international and you've had already so many international experiences, by the time you were like 21, 22, 23, being in that building in DC with all those creative people and
Oh,
them and seeing all the photos on the wall and all the covers and
every day.
yeah, that must have just been so inspiring.
It was so inspiring. I mean, I was in a really good place for sure. I was like, "This is amazing," and I'd never take any of that stuff for granted. I mean, very happy that I got that experience.
Yeah, it's wild. It's crazy now that they don't even make a magazine anymore, I don't think.
I know. I had a whole collection. Yeah.
I grew up on them. Like we had those yellow
Yeah.
with that like my mom was a travel agent and she had them all over the house for years and I grew up and I think that is one of the things that got me interested because I was a professional photographer for 10 years when I was covering China for all the major Western magazines, and they've got me kind of curious about traveling the world. And I do think it has a lot to do with just growing up with National Geographic magazines all over my house, everywhere.
So, I I am second that, and I'm not a photographer, but I mean, of course, I did a lot of photography when I was in Italy for sure, because back then we had the real cameras and it was amazing. It wasn't really hard to capture a good photo. I'm just going to be honest, right? It wasn't that I was a good photographer. There was a lot of footage that just like resonated, right?
Absolutely.
But I was into also the magazine Colors.
Mhm.
Do you remember that?
I remember colors, yeah.
Oh yeah, so Oliviero Toscani
Mhm.
was the photographer who started that, and yeah, I'm fascinated by photography itself, just the capturing of these beautiful moments or crazy moments or whatever. So lucky you.
Yeah, it was pretty special. But yeah, I grew up again just idolizing all those photographers and their way of life and being able to travel and
Yeah,
document the world and just the respect that they put into their work was so beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah. So so you you get the chance to work at National Geographic and then you graduate university and then you're like, did you ever think like I want to work at National Geographic for the rest of my life?
So there was okay. So this was the moment, and I am an impulsive person.
This was the impulsive, decisive moment.
Totally. I don't. There are people. God bless, and I wish I was a little more like that. But there are people who really think things through and they're analytical. I'm not analytical
Mhm.
by all means, and so I just like I go with I go with the instinct, right? And so
I think that's great though. Just as an aside, sorry to interrupt you. I think that's amazing because I think you can overthink things. And I think the number one problem with most people in this world is people think themselves out of great ideas.
true.
Yeah.
True, but then you could also lead yourself down a path that maybe, you shouldn't, but I'm not gonna regret anything because I went down a path that I never will regret, and so
Turning around is so much easier than forever wondering what's down that
I
path.
that I agree, I say that a lot, actually. So, I was in this pivotal moment, I was actually working still at National Geographic, and I'm like, "You know what? I either climb the corporate ladder, go into this, world in which you kinda can't get out of because once you're in it, you're just kind of in it,
Mhm.
or I take this opportunity, go to Italy, see what happens. 'Cause you're young, you just, like, don't even think that the opportunities are never gonna come again, so, you have that sense of, invincibility, so to speak, that you're just like, "Yeah, I'll go for it," and so I'm like, "I'm gonna go to Italy, stay there for a year, see how it goes," and, so forth. So that year turned into, what, 9? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 years.
And what did you do when you got there?
So at first when I got there, I was like, "What am I gonna do?" Okay, so,
I love that you just moved to Italy without a plan. That's
nope,
the best.
no plan. No
Yeah.
plan, no work, no nothing. But with the idea of obviously I'm gonna find work. So I was there and I actually saved a lot of money through working in school that I literally had enough to even probably stay there for like a year without working. But luckily I did find and land a job in a not travel agency, it was a real estate agency that actually works with a lot of Americans and Brits
Oh, there you go.
and luxury travel.
Mhm.
She was American, her husband was Italian, is Italian, and they created this company that was, like, quite exclusive and elusive and, like, like, celebrities were their clients and so forth, and obviously Tuscany was a sought-out area, so I ended up working for them for a long time.
Mhm.
Um,
That must have been wild though. Like, Tuscany is just heaven on earth.
you know
Or do you have an inside scoop on how
No,
terrible Tuscany is?
no, not terrible at all. Okay,
I love it there.
why I had the hesitation, it's not about that.
Okay.
It's about foreign expectation coming to Italy
Oh god.
and that level of expectation,
Mhm.
right? So not somebody who's like saved some money and gone to Italy and is so excited because they have the opportunity to go to Italy. These are people with a lot of money who expect certain things out of their experience.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's just it was that it's kind of like setting some expectations to that kind of caliber of people that you're like, yeah, well, Italy just doesn't function, and they don't actually care how much money you have because if they're going to close shop, they'll close shop. If the bank wants to close down, they're going to close down. Like there's no other way around that. What they think is beautiful, and that's why Italy is Italy.
Yeah. They've stuck with their traditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not open 24 hours. So, I think that was really interesting to me as, young in this world of going service industry, really. It's like, wow, I'm gonna have to deal with all of these different types of people. And there's no wrong or right in any of it. I'm like, I didn't, I don't like feel the angry or upset or whatever. Like, some people are like, "Oh, they're so entitled." I'm like, "No, they're not. They're paying for something, and they expect certain things back, and then that's their right. There's nothing wrong with that."
Yeah, there's no judgment. It's just
Yeah.
absorbing their lifestyle and their understanding of how the world works.
Right. It's a lot of, like, like, it's like, "Okay, how do I communicate so that they're still semi-satisfied or whatever, but I get that across and, they're learning as well that this isn't the case." So, we worked with because we did work with clients who stayed for 6 months to a year.
Oh, wow.
They were, coming for, I don't know, sending their kids to the American school that's there and so forth. So, yeah, there were long-term clients, not just short-term, vacationers.
Mhm. That's wild.
Yeah.
You must have met some amazing people.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, amazing. And one of them then became my second boss.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you left one company for another.
Yeah. So I was doing that and I was like, "Ugh, I can't, I've got to do something more, in with my life." And I was like, I'm going to I actually was decided I'm going to go back to America.
Mhm.
And right at the time that I was deciding that, one of the clients said, "Are you available to do some work for me?" Because he's ex Microsoft,
Mhm.
uh, kind of one of the guys who designed Word. So, young. and he was starting an ECRM company there.
What's ECRM?
It's a, customer relation management, like, software.
Okay.
So and which now there's, like, so many of them, but, back then,
They're all in the cloud now, right?
right, there's, like so, it's like, "Oh, I need help, and I'm gonna, set the, company up here in Italy, and my guys are in India," like, all these things, and I was like, "Okay, perfect. Yeah, I could do this. This would be fun. This is exciting. This is something I can get my head around and I can learn," and again, it's like there was the common thread in all of this was really just working with people that were from different cultures.
Yeah.
It was like I was constantly just given this role without even understanding anything, like this is what I went to school for, but okay, what did I go to school for? I mean, literally, how many people, unless you're going to medical school or, law school, like how many people are using exactly what they learned in university?
I studied political philosophy.
Right. So, yeah. So, well, you
I get to have
def
endless conversations with people.
right. You definitely bring somebody here and this chair, who's you can have a conversation with.
So, like you were an early globalist.
I was an early globalist. I love that word, and I love that you said that. So, yeah, I like that about me, yeah.
In the 90s, before people were really thinking about, like, globalization in a meaningful way, you were already working with people who were American and who had coders in India, and you were in Italy, and you're trying to
Immigrants,
yeah,
that's a whole 'nother aspect.
yeah, and this is before, like, the internet really took off, like, this is
Yeah.
because the 90s, I think I got my first email address when I go into university, and that was, like, 90 maybe I had a Hotmail or something in, like,
Yeah,
97 or
absolutely.
something?
Maybe Hotmail, yeah.
Yeah,
Then
AOL. I had an AOL.
AOL, that's it, yeah, those are the you could date somebody when you see those still.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you worked for the American who was a former Microsoft person. So at what stage are you done with your, like, international adventure and then you go back to the US?
So I honestly, I got really into the work I did, and my boss, his wife were just amazing. They were kind of like family to me, and during that time, and um, I remember him saying to me, "You're so much more than this. You should be running your company. You should be doing something." I was like, "Well, I've got some ideas, and those ideas really were around the service industry, to be honest, because I saw that there was a gap in Tuscany. There were realtors, great, but there were people who were doing maybe like touristy tours and all those things, but there wasn't like a relocation kind of aspect of everything because the realtors could only do so much, right? There was so much more that had to happen. Bureaucracy is massive and as we know is like a massive loophole in Italy. And they like to keep it that way. So and a lot of people don't speak Italian when they're coming.
Mhm.
So I got to, I speak both languages, so it was easier for me.
Was there enough people relocating to Tuscany, like, that to make it worthwhile?
Well,
Like, I'm just curious because I mean, it's a beautiful area, but do people actually, like, come and like, live there full time?
yeah,
It's like kids' school and work and everything?
yeah,
Oh, that's wild. And do they settle in and around Florence?
yeah.
Oh,
Why? Because there's an American school.
okay, there you go,
Right.
yeah.
So there's an American school in Florence,
Mhm,
and it's a really great school. So they would take out their kids for a year, have the experience in Italy. Some of them would go back, some of them would stay.
mhm.
And make a life in Italy or go back and forth or whatever it is. So yeah, no, a lot of people actually.
That's a nice way to live life.
Yeah, it's a really nice way to live life, definitely. But it is daunting. And so, you're coming to another country, you're moving ship, you don't speak the language and you're moving your kids.
Mhm,
So yeah, there was a gap. And so I, founded a relocation business.
mhm,
And from that it spiraled into property development because then we became kind of the liaison for a real estate agency in the UK called Savills. And so we were their, like, sole liaison in Tuscany, my business partner and I, because I had one then
yeah.
around that time.
And you knew what the people wanted in Tuscany, and then they could sell it in London. Ye
Well, yeah, or if they had a property, then we would oversee, and then we could oversee the development side of things with the architects, with the like, all the bureaucracy behind it, accounting. I mean, I could go on and on, but that's not a fun conversation really, but it is like, there's a lot that takes to do it, right? Um
It's a job.
Yeah, and it's nice to have somebody who can speak both languages, who can really be there and cheerlead for you
Mhm.
and explain things to you and also set your expectations. That's also needed.
So pretty there. I love it. It's
Yeah.
been too long since I've been back to Tuscany. I think the last time I was there was like 2017, maybe.
Well, it doesn't change. That's the beauty about it. I was just there in September and I hadn't been there for, since probably COVID, before COVID. And I was like, oh God, nothing changes. It's great. Love that. I'm so happy. Makes me happy.
The rolling hills and the sunsets and all the vineyards.
Yeah. I mean, everything, the color, the sky, the people, the energy. I, it's just, I mean, listen, I'm going to say this because my dad ever listens to this. He's going to be like, well, you only talk about the Italian culture. I also am super in love with the Pakistani culture.
Mhm.
And it's not too, far off from similar from each other. Like there's a lot of similarities in there. They both are very family forward, you know, really care a lot about food
Mhm.
and feeding. It's both the same. Very generous with their time and generous with their demeanor and their love and everything. Like if you went to Pakistan, when you go to go climb, I guarantee you my family will take care of you. And even if they don't know you and you're just a friend of mine, they will take care of you. That's who they are and that's how they operate. So
I might take you up on that. That'd
yeah,
be amazing.
absolutely, absolutely, they would. And so that's who they are, and they're beautiful people.
Mhm.
Um, and very welcoming. So I just want to throw that in there because I know we're talking very heavily on Italy. And if he does listen to this, Dad, I'm just as in love with the Pakistani culture.
Dad, we've got you covered, but at the end of the day, you didn't live in Pakistan during some very formative years. You
True.
were you were in Italy during those formative years. So that's the only reason why we're focused on Italy.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say that I had a one trip with my dad in high school. I decided one summer I'm going to go with him, and we were there for almost 2 months.
To Pakistan.
Mhm.
Where'd you go in Pakistan?
In Islamabad, we were mainly there,
Yeah.
Karachi a little bit, but, it was mainly in and I mean, I took pictures. This is when I thought I was a photographer. I have some amazing black and whites from there, and,
35 mil?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, back in the day. I got it, them, done there and everything and on these, like, wooden, the old school way of everything.
I have a box in that closet just over there that there's 2 boxes, like 6 feet high, and it's all negatives.
So so
Yeah, I published 2 photography books just in film, all about China. One in black and white and one in color. One in black and white. The black and white one was all about Xinjiang, the Muslim area of China, and the color one was all about all the years I was hiking and climbing in Tibet. So it was very pretty. Yeah.
amazing. Well, now you're gonna have to do one in Pakistan.
I would love to someday. That'd be amazing.
So that trip though, really, it was I mean, look, most kids were, my brother was going to like Pink Floyd and I was going to Pakistan. And, I was like, I made a choice that I was like, I feel very connected to that culture and my Pakistani roots. So, when I went there during that time, it was incredible. And I learned a lot about the culture. And I also learned a lot about the Pakistani, Indian, like, rife and all those things, and my grandmother's neighbor was at the time the Indian ambassador.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, who she was very close
Yeah.
with, and so, we got to and I really, like, just drank up all of it, like, I was like, "This is amazing, I'm learning so much." Again, to the point of international studies, you're like, I'm just absorbing, and I'm really learning from the world. I would say I wasn't the most studious person. I wasn't an academic by all means. I got great grades, I always did. I did what I was supposed to do, but at the same time, I learned outside of school
Yeah.
everything.
I think that's where you have to do with the learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they just in school, they just teach you how to be another sheep, like, they don't really give you that dynamic approach to life or teaching you the real things you need to get ahead. They just kind of teach you the basics and then push you off to fall in line with everyone else, but, like, you have to actually try to get out of your comfort zone
Yeah.
and actually grow and actually go places where you can learn things and figure out who you are. Because I feel like when you travel, you learn just as much about the other culture that you're in, as you do about yourself.
100%.
And the more you kinda test yourself, like, you battle test yourself in all these situations every single day, and you start to figure out if you're tough enough to survive in this world or not, right?
Right.
Or thrive, or if you're just gonna, curl up into a ball and go home.
Well, 100%. And I agree with you. And I also say I would take it back to what school really misses out on is they teach you what you're supposed to know and they grade you on it, which is so ridiculous. And so you're kind of pegged on, do you really work hard or you don't? And working hard isn't always the key to everything in life, right? Work efficiently for sure, but also, how do you communicate? Like, teach them how to communicate.
Mhm.
These kids don't know how to communicate with one another. And even now, more so, because now they're in the devices, right? And communicating that way in these weird text messages and whatever they do, and I think that is what's really lacking. And that kind of segues into, or not segues, but is part of what I'm passionate about and what I do.
Mhm.
And the breakdown is really that. It's like if you could teach kids just to learn how to communicate with one another and communicate their desires and their needs and their things like in a way that is healthy. Wow. I mean, we would have a lot, more people curious in this world.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I've always said, like, we need to go back into the schools and teach kids, like, how to live on a budget and how to
Yes.
keep track of expenses and how to eat and how to read ingredients and how to exercise and how to have a balanced life and all these things that will, like, really pay dividends when you get old.
Which we did have a lot more of when we were younger, by the way,
Yeah.
because we had home economics, we had checkbooks, so we had to really understand how much are we spending, we had to write everything down, like, we had a practice that was very much, like, couldn't kind of hide from all those things, so there was more of a level of that, and I think we've definitely moved away from it,
Yeah.
so it's just
Gone far, far away.
again, that's probably another podcast, but yeah, we could talk about that forever. I have a teenager, so
Not no not easy. Um, okay, so and then what? You came back to the US after you
Yeah.
worked.
So
Oh,
I was in Italy, and during the time I was in Italy, I did a lot of work with the UK because I was working with this real estate agent. See, and when I was in London for one of my visits, I ended up meeting my then now ex-husband. Let's put it that way. So I met my ex-husband there, and I know it sounds so confusing when I say it, but anyway, my first husband. Let's put it that way.
mhm.
And
It is confusing since I know your current husband.
I know. I know. I know.
We had great chats on this podcast, by the way.
Yeah, I know. So, yes, I know it's so confusing, but, we can actually name him, it's fine. His name is James, and there's 100 James out here, thousands of James. So, I met James and in London, and then, from that, we kind of had a relationship that, Florence, London, I mean, amazing. So, he was running his company, I was running my own company, so we just would every other weekend back and forth, and then couple years in, we kinda had to make a decision, like, "Okay," he's like, "I can't move there because I can't even speak the language, and I'm running this company," and I said, "Well," anyway, so I sold my side of the business back to my business partner and decided to move to London.
Wow.
So I moved to London.
That took some guts.
Yeah. I really
Giving up that beautiful Tuscan weather for London.
Oh, yeah, and I definitely it took me a good, like, 6 months to really let it go.
Mhm.
It wasn't sorry, didn't make me happy, for sure, and look, London is amazing. I mean, it's a beautiful city.
It used to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a city that it's just so much history and so much, like, culture in it too that you're just like, it's you can't I mean, I love London, and I can say that I didn't probably love it when I just first went there, but I learned to love it a lot.
Do you know what I learned the other day? There's one family that owns Mayfair.
Yeah.
It's the Mayfair family,
I know.
and they're worth like $25 billion, and they own every block
It's
in
2 brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just learned that the other day, and I was shocked.
I
How
know their daughters. I know, I know, I know, it's
fucking
shocking.
unbelievable.
It's shocking. It's shocking and it's smart. I mean, look, all the power to them,
Yeah.
They're
Well, they didn't do anything. It was grandparents of grandparents that locked that shit down.
well, yeah, I get it in the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we had so many clients going back to what I used to do in Italy. We had so many clients coming from the UK that bought their houses for like 0, I mean, really, and then sold it for like 2,000,000.
Mhm.
I mean, it was ridiculous, amount of appreciation that they had because the market went just bonkers in the UK. So, um, yeah, London, great. I moved there. Twiddled my thumbs. I'm like, "What am I gonna do? Should I keep doing what I did?" It was really hard. I had to be in the presence of, Tuscany, really. So it's like, "Oh, I try maybe something else." And then
That must have been really hard as an entrepreneur
Yeah.
to give up your business and move to a city to pursue a relationship, but not have your own business there and not really to have, because as an entrepreneur, you're quite aggressive and you're used to being quite busy
Yeah.
and doing things your own way.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go to London and you're twiddling your thumbs. That's like,
What am I doing?
yeah, that's got to be tough.
It is tough. And, again, it's like one of those things that I was fortunate enough that I didn't have to go right back into work.
Mhm.
But I allowed myself that time to go, let's just think about this. Like, what do you want to do? You
Yeah.
know?
Let's get used to walking in the rain
Right.
and take it.
And I'm still in my 20s, right? It's late 20s, but I'm still in my 20s. And so if you think about it, it's like, oh, well, you still kind of have this sense of, the world is your oyster and everything can happen. Well,
Mm.
I did. That's the personality I have. Like you're never too late to start something. And because you're an entrepreneur, you just have a lot more faith in yourself that you can get something going,
Yeah.
right? So I didn't have to necessarily find a job, but I could create something different. And I already had an idea.
Mhm.
And the idea, because I am a creative, I didn't even say this because I don't want to like go all over the place, but my mom used to design clothes for like rock stars in New York City
Oh, really?
in the 70s.
That's fucking.
She had her own boutique called Samson and Delilah, and her clients were like David Bowie, Alice Cooper, Rod Stewart, you name it.
How did we miss that little
I know
nugget?
because I didn't really go back and talk about my parents and before me. It was all about me.
Yeah.
But the creative gene definitely runs in the family, and I have always been super creative, and I think creative was also the ideas
Mhm.
come with that. So I had this idea of creating a jewelry line and very kind of retro, but fashion forward, kind of inclusive jewelry that is affordable for everyone, sort of affordable, not super affordable, but high end kind of, but not like, unattainable jewelry. And one of my friends in Italy, his family own a factory that makes all the jewelry, costume jewelry for Chanel, Ferragamo, Louis Vuitton, all the big names.
Mhm.
So I approached him with this idea. I was like, hey,
Back in the day when things were actually made in Italy.
yeah. And they still are because
Mhm.
they're still in business and they're thriving.
That's good.
But there's a cost to it, obviously. So I went to them. I was like, look, I have this ideas and I just really would love to see if it works. And so I have no idea how to start a jewelry company or a fashion label or any of that stuff, but I'm just going to give it a go and figure it out, considering the supply chain was pretty easy because I knew the factory, right? And I knew who they were, and they were willing to kind of realize those ideas and give it a go. So I got lucky.
That trust is good.
The trust is really good.
Yeah.
So I took those samples basically and literally became like this door-to-door sales. By the way, I didn't know how you're supposed to sell jewelry or fashion at all. I didn't know there was buyers
Mhm.
and that you have to kind of get in with the buyers and figure out how you can meet with the buyers or go to fashion shows in hopes that the buyers will see you and buy from you. Had no idea. I would go to the stores and be like, "Can I talk to your buyer?"
Yeah.
So
It's before Instagram.
totally. I mean, whatever, but I didn't know. I didn't know how it worked. And so, which I think that naivety worked for me because it allowed me to just get into stores and go, "Hey, is the buyer here? I'd love to talk to him. I've got this jewelry line." And I would end up speaking to some of the buyers
Mm.
and they loved the jewelry.
Yeah.
So they invested in it.
Mm.
So they're like, "Yes, let's take it on." That's how it started. I mean, it was just so organic and there was no rhyme or reason to it.
And is that jewelry business, is that like consignment? Like they'll put it in their store and then when it sells, you get money and you split it with the shop, or how, like, I don't even know how that business works.
It depends. There's a lot of ways that it can work. You can do direct to consumer sales which means you take on the inventory,
Mhm.
or you do wholesale, which you sell it to stores, or you do consignment, which again, you're still creating the inventory, but you know how the quantity of which what you need. Direct to consumer, you're going to have to do like there's a certain minimum amount that you have to order from factories.
Sure.
China has a lot higher one, but that's why their costs are lower.
Mhm.
So where maybe you do like 500 in Italy pieces, you have to do 5,000 in China, like for
Right.
example, right?
And you were designing all this jewelry on your own?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's a skill.
It was
That's
fun.
yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
I know. And look, and again, it was thank God. I mean, this is a sophisticated factory that I didn't have to do it in a certain way. I was like, I designed it in my ideas came to life, and I was like, oh, in this color scheme or this stuff. So I just brought it all together, presented it to them, and they created it. I In their factory, they also have all the materials, so you can go around and just like see, oh, I love this with this, and we can pair that, and it was so fun.
Mhm.
Honestly, if you like that sort of thing, it was like the best experience I've ever had.
That's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
and also working with a friend, and her family, it was incredible. So, but again, I got lucky because they really liked my jewelry and they're like, "Yes,
Mhm.
this is great." So I started in some really great stores in the UK and it started getting momentum and, I pretty much got into all the markets except the US,
Mhm.
sorry. Um, so I was running that business for quite a bit until I got pregnant
Oh.
and divorced at the same time.
Oh, wow. That's a interesting combination.
Yeah, it's a great combination. I don't tell anybody else to do that.
Not a recommendation.
Not a recommendation for anyone, for sure.
Yeah.
That was a tough one because, here are like a lot of major transitions in my life that, I was like, oh my God, how do I wrap my head around both of them? And then to run a business on top of it, I was like, I just can't.
Mhm.
One baby had to go. And so that was my business, which is sad. It was, you know, it was easier to do probably because I had no choice rather than I had to make that choice.
Yeah.
So, um, I had to focus on, giving birth and, dealing with a looming divorce ahead of me.
Would you I mean, where was your head at that stage? Were you like, "Okay, London's my home. I'm gonna stay here even if I get divorced"? Because you went to London to pursue a relationship. I was just curious, like, I've never traveled to another country to pursue a relationship before, but I'm curious, like, if it doesn't work out, do you just go home or do you stay there? Like, did you ever think like, "Oh, I need to go back to Italy," or "I'm just gonna stay in London and see how it plays out"?
Well, I made a home there. It
See ya.
became my
Yeah,
home.
there you go. Okay.
Like wasn't there any longer for just somebody else. I was there because I enjoyed it. It became my place,
Mhm.
and it really was. I mean, I have, because they're still in my life, amazing friends. Amazing. I mean, like a sisterhood. I mean, really shout out to them. They were there for me every step of the way. And I think by my family were scattered, I mean, everywhere. My mom and dad were in the DC area. My brother was in Dubai. I'm very close to my brother. Um, and I have family in Italy and Pakistan. So it's just everywhere. I was like, okay, I'm this is my home right now,
Mhm.
and it just felt safe to just be and stay there,
Mhm.
basically, and they all came to me and they were supportive and I had friends from America and everywhere just helping me and supporting me through it. So, I felt pretty grounded in that sense,
Nice.
you know? Very
Okay.
lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so you gave birth?
Yes. So, had that experience, gave birth. I have a daughter named Anastasia. She is amazing and real gift. I mean, that was incredible. And I think, you know, we'll get to what I do, but I think a part of experiencing divorce is you're like, "Oh my god, everything that I thought was gonna happen is not happening anymore. So what the hell?" Because I was also experiencing such a new, chapter, a new experience in my life of having a child that it kind of it helped me think less about that, if that makes any sense. I was, like, hyper focused on, "I have a kid,
Mhm.
and I gotta breastfeed, and I've gotta do all the things, and I gotta figure out why that she's crying, and I've gotta do" like, I didn't have the luxury of the time or the escapism,
Mhm.
which a lot of times you'll do when you have heartache or breakup or grief or all those things. You end up, like, kind of escaping from it for a while until you have to deal with it.
Mhm.
No, there was no escapism for me.
You were grounded in keeping a new life
Yeah.
into bringing a new life into this world, yeah.
100%. So, there's never a right time, I'm gonna say, and that was a pretty crappy time, and I don't think there's any a right time for kids as well. But, for me, I know that I was so super present at that moment, and because of course, I had a new life, and it was such a beautiful experience.
Mm.
So, yeah. I think that, looking back, I think it saved me probably from being in that story for longer than I had to.
Yeah. 'Cause you didn't have time to wallow around and feel sorry for yourself.
0.
Yeah.
0. I actually, and I'm not saying I didn't have my, like, victim moments, we all have a pity party every now and then,
Sure.
but, I didn't stay in it.
Mm,
I couldn't.
yeah. So what was it like being a new mother in London?
Amazing. Again, because I had such a good group of friends. I mean, I had friends like, it's very competitive to get your kid into nursery. It's very competitive to get in school, kind of like LA or New York or those big cities. They all helped me do the forms while I was even pregnant, and they were just helping me. I just had like this group of people. One in particular, friend named Deborah. She was like incredible. So I just had like this chosen family around me. So I was very lucky, and it was a great experience, honestly.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think, London has its things. Like, I don't know any other way of having a kid. So I've had it only her in London. I mean, of course, it's like you don't have a backyard that, big backyard that you can go play in the way I grew up in many ways, you're confined into a city lifestyle, mostly, but we made the best of it. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say this about the UK and London, especially, you can get to other countries so easily. I mean, in 2 hours, I was in Italy. 2 hours, I was in Spain. 2 hours, I was like 2 hours, I was in Greece. I mean, pick I was in Amsterdam. I take the train to Paris. I mean, you have this sense of like, I can get anywhere really pretty fast.
Yeah.
It takes 2 hours sometimes to get from west to east LA, right?
Yeah,
So,
it doesn't make any sense.
right?
Yeah. I'm headed back that way soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's time to move on.
Time to
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. At some stage, yeah. The visa runs out this year, and, yeah, I'm just considering, to renew it or to move on, and I think that moving on is winning out.
Right?
Yeah.
So where would you go to?
Like a few ideas, but back into that neck of the woods, somewhere in the mountains, somewhere where I can go hiking and climbing all the time, and
Beautiful.
yeah. But
Beautiful.
Italy is absolutely on the list, yeah.
Well, you know a person you can go to
Absolutely.
help you through that.
Yes.
I've
Oh,
got
you used to also have a
Pakistan.
relocation company.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I've got Italy and Pakistan covered for you.
Right.
But yeah, so great experience in London. And then during, I think when my daughter was, Anastasia was turning just before her second birthday, I met Paul, who you have interviewed, who is now my husband.
Did you see him in the West End version of Dirty Dancing? Is that how you met him?
I didn't.
That would have been hilarious if you went to the play and saw
I
him,
know.
and you'd be like, "I need to talk to that guy."
I know. That would have been actually, I missed that. I missed the experience, unfortunately. I think I caught him right after, just after that.
Okay.
Um, but he definitely still had those dance moves, which I think that, you know, he worked that to his benefit, for sure.
Sure.
But I wasn't looking for any, definitely not a husband. I was just, like, at that time I was like, okay, now I'm really ready to have, a partner or somebody in my life that I could really trust,
Mhm.
especially after the experience you have, right? Or you go through when it's, you know, I was still processing a lot in that stage too.
It takes years to get over that kind of trauma
Yeah.
if a divorce comes
Yeah.
kind of out of left field.
Yeah. And because there's all these things that you don't process it all at once, ever. Can't. Your body can't process it all at once. Your mind can't absorb it all. You just can't do it. There's little tidbits when, start happening as you just grow and you realize, oh shit, I didn't really process that. It's coming up. It's
It's coming back.
it's coming back. There you go. So yeah, but it was a great experience because I met somebody, and Paul is, and you've met him, and just this like stand-up guy. That's it. Proper British stand-up guy. And what you see is what you get, which is very refreshing, and
Not a lot of those these days.
I know, and honest and gentlemanlike and all those things. I told him, I was like, one of the experiences I had with him that I think made me realize, oh, I really like this guy, was we were meeting up at a tube station, right, walking, and we were meeting up at a station, and he didn't know I was walking there towards him, but I could see him helping a pregnant lady and in a pram. Like, he was helping her up the stairs and down the stairs, and he just does those things. Like, he just does them. He doesn't do it because
Not to show off to his new date.
no, he didn't even know I was there, and that's what I loved about it. And, he just that's who he is.
Mhm.
He'll go help whoever needs help all the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, that was good. So how did you end up in LA?
so fast forward many years. My daughter was she was about to turn 11, and the UK academic system is very much a very academic board, and they have these tests. They test like kids at 7, and they test them at 11 again. So it's called the 11 plus. And she would have had to do that, and I would have probably had to tutor her to the nines to do it. And so I sat there and I was like, do I really want to invest this time and effort if it's not a good fit for her and a mold for her? Because she's not an academic. You can see it. She's such a creative. She's such an artist. She needs to express herself.
Standardized testing is, I don't know why they still do that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. They're supposed to move away from it, but they don't.
In China, it's super intense. They have these, yeah, the kids like freak out and have panic attacks at like
Yeah.
10 years old. Yeah, it's fucked up.
I don't understand the necessity for it. Yeah. And meanwhile, the people who are doing the best and thriving the most are the Finnish, because they don't even go to school till they're 9, and they don't have tests. They have they have conversations.
Yeah. But you can do that in a country with like 3 million people in the whole country. I mean, what does Helsinki have? Like 500,000
I
people
know.
in it? Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, it's a great, idea that you can be like, "Come on, like, let's move away from all the stress that we're giving these kids for what? They're not gonna even remember any of this stuff."
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. I mean, discipline does matter, but there's ways of, creating a discipline or a routine or something that teaches them in a different way, I believe. Um, so the idea, Paul and I were talking about the idea of, hey, one thing that I had to say is my brother moved to London. I think probably why London was so magical as well. Like, year into my daughter's life, he moved back. He moved to London with his wife,
Oh, that's nice.
which is amazing. So I had him like around the corner. Um, then he moved away and he moved to La Jolla, San Diego,
Hmm.
about probably 3 years before I moved here.
Okay.
Um,
Well, that's a nice part of the world.
yeah, it's really nice. I get it. I get why he did it. Um, so it was kind of like, I want to be near my brother. I haven't been back in the US for a long time, like over half my life. I'm like, maybe go and experience it and have my daughter experience it. And maybe there's a better fit for her scholastically or in the school, whatever. There's more options
Hmm.
in America, right?
What were you doing at that stage, by the way? Like, because you gave up your jewelry business to have Anastasia.
Yeah.
Did you ever start anything else up after that, or were you just?
What I did was really like when I did a lot of interior stuff when people asked me to do it. I didn't really promote it, and I would just do little things here and there. Like I worked with a cashmere company and helped them kind of, sell and do all those things. Whenever I had time, I just did something that I could do.
Mhm.
And a lot of it was in the interior work, which I loved, by the way. It was really fun. Um,
Any advice for the studio space here?
well, no, I think it's what you need.
It's
No
functional. It's
distractions.
functional.
It's functional, and we really don't need distractions right now.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, it's great. But, yeah, I really loved that, actually. It was really fun. Um, but during that time, I actually had this idea of coming up with a company. So, I don't wanna get into all of it because it gets like a whole 'nother story, but I was in and out of court for a long, long time,
Hmm.
right? So, when I met Paul wasn't the end of my divorce, it was the end of the financial part of the divorce, but there was a whole other aspect of everything else. And, yeah, was in and out of court like 10 times, 10 years, long time. And so during that process, I became a mediator. I went to school, Regent's College in London, and became a mediator. Why? To help me out. I was like, I got to learn how to negotiate. I got to learn to take charge of my situation and figure this out because I'm giving all the power to my lawyers and I don't know, like I'm swimming in all this stuff. And it's a lot of stress.
Would that kind of mediation be specific to like family mediation?
Yeah,
Like.
like, at first it was mediation and then became family mediation. However, what I realized was I then became this kind of go-to person that all my friends were like, "Oh my god, so and so is getting divorced. Can you talk to them? "Oh my god, I'm getting divorced. Can you help me through this process?" So I ended up helping people through it.
That's amazing
Yeah.
that you're able to give back to all those wonderful people that helped you when you were going through.
100%,
Yeah.
or just mentoring people through the process, It's like, all right, because there's a certain level of, yes, have to know the law, but the law isn't everything in a divorce. There's so much more. I mean, obviously, your mental state of mind is everything because you're never going to make great decisions when you're firing in your amygdala brains like fight or flight all the time, right? So there's a lot of that, but also a lot of understanding what do you really want? What do you really need? Like, breaking it down to certain, ways that you can digest it, because you're not digesting it when you're having, like, the courts, like, thrown you're getting, you know, legal documents thrown at you. You have to make these decisions. Your lawyers are talking in a speak that you just don't even understand. I mean, it's so overwhelming.
It's incredibly complicated, and
Yeah.
it's like, and again too, your mental state is not where it needs to be to go through that kind of paperwork and all that crap, and figuring out like who you are now that this has happened, and figuring out like what you want and what you need to move forward with your life in a positive way and for your child. It's fucking complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you don't have to have all the answers, by the way, but you have pressure because there is a certain timeline, right? That if should it go to court, you just kind of have to understand what it is that you need and what you want to fight for and what you don't want to fight for and blah, blah, blah. And there's so much in it.
Well, that's quite entrepreneurial that at least you went to school and learned how to be a family mediator so that you could at least help your own situation.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really understand, like, it takes a lot of compartmentalization and, operating from no emotion. Oh my God, that's so hard, especially for a woman, by the way. Right? It's a tough place to be and to do that. And so it's like you kind of need somebody to help you,
Absolutely, yeah.
and who is going to reassure you and also tell you these are the things you really should care about right now. And this is the stuff that you should be thinking about because you can't think for yourself in many ways, you know, and not be pressurized by the law.
And you need someone. The thing I figured out too is you really need to have someone in your corner who's not a lawyer,
Yeah.
because lawyers will just extend the process endlessly for billable hours, and they won't try to cut corners or speed up the process. So you're just caught in this endless litigation that just drains money from you. And if you don't have someone who is on your side, who's not a lawyer, but who understands the law enough to teach you that, it's so painful.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so true. And by the way, it's usually everybody's first rodeo with, courts and a lawyer. So there's a lot of intimidation in it. And so they don't know, what to say even to the lawyer. They're scared of their lawyer itself. So now you're dealing with somebody who has to deal with their ex and a lawyer, which they're fearful of both. And like, what happens? You get stuck and you like literally don't know what to do. So, yeah, it's like taking them and like, "All right, here's a plan. Here's some strategy." I work with a lot of strategy, communication, all those things, and so that's where I found my, like, fire. That was where I love to do, and then from that, I had this idea, birthed this idea of like, there needs to be more of a community because you do lose a sense of community, and for me, I didn't lose community, but all my friends were getting married and having kids while I was getting divorced.
Yeah, because you were ahead of the game.
Right. So there is a sense of like, oh, I did nobody gets it, and I am feeling really lonely in these feelings, right? So
How hard sorry, how hard is sorry to interrupt you.
this
How hard is it to go to other people's weddings when you were going through this terrible divorce, and you're also counseling people on how to get divorced properly? Like, I don't go to people's weddings anymore. Like, yeah, because like, I was just seeing too much chaos.
well, I know, yeah,
Is that too pessimistic?
it is, but I understand that. I do understand that. I think people put so much emphasis on a wedding
Yeah,
rather than how they feel with each other. There's that,
for sure.
and it becomes that point of like, "Oh my god, we're gonna solidify our partnership, and we're going to show the world, and we're gonna show our friends, and we're gonna have this fun time," and it's like, great, but you can do that in many different ways, right? Um,
Can you sit in a room with that same person for 3 hours and hold a conversation without losing your mind
right.
first before you go through
Can you actually
spending.
listen?
Yes.
Can you actually listen, absorb? It's so funny because I always say this, it's like going back to communicating, I mean, there's pretty much 3 modalities of communication, I would say. maybe there's more, but I would say there's semantic
Mhm.
and there's, emotional, and then there's the body, the physical, right? And we're communicating all the time in that way, right? And males or, I would say the male energy is very semantic, a lot more so, less emotional
Mhm.
than women. And women are operating from emotion. And then there's the body that, says a lot of things too, right? And it kind of seeps into it. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, to your point, like, can you sit in a room and actually like be okay with the body language or the emotion or the words that are being thrown at you, like all those things. It's like, wow, learn that
Yeah.
first.
Before you spend six figures on a wedding.
Ugh, and everybody, okay, though I will say, not everybody. I'd just say the statistics are pretty high on people spending more
Mhm.
on their divorce than their own wedding day.
Yep. And with what is it now? Still 50% of people who get married end up in divorce?
Yeah,
Or
there's one divorce every 42 seconds in America.
wow, not bad. I read a statistic that was very interesting. Um, because I've been interested in divorce for a while. I was divorced, but just before COVID, and it went really well. It was very smooth and easy, so I was very lucky. But in Scandinavia, so Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Denmark, um, something like 2 or 3% of divorces require lawyers. So almost like 90 something percent of divorces are just done through paperwork between the husband and wife, and they just agree on how to separate everything. And but then the flip side of that is like 100% of divorces in the United States require lawyers, and you spend more money on your divorce than you spend on your wedding, and it can take months to years. And it's just amazing how much more complicated everything is here. And I actually had a divorce lawyer on the podcast a couple months ago.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and he went through the differences between the US law. Like in so for example, in Scandinavia, when you agree to get divorced, whoever's making more money at the time of divorce has to top up the spouse who's making less money, but only for a 12-month period.
Amazing.
But of course, in the United States, that can be an endless payment.
Yeah.
So there's so much more money involved
Yeah.
in the U.S. system, and that's why people fight so hard. And there's so much trickery and legal warfare. That yeah,
100%.
it's crazy.
Well, there's also the kids. That's a big one too. But that's tied into with the money. So even one difference even from the UK to the US is in the UK they separate the family court with the financial side of things. So kids affairs go to one court system, the financial go to another. So my financial divorce was done in like a jiffy because that's just numbers and it's a numbers game.
Yeah, like, "This is yours, this is yours, this is what you came in with," whatever, whatever.
100%.
Yeah.
This is like the length of your marriage, boom, boom, boom. It's just a calculation, right? You can only fight so much about that. And then the kids' affairs are in a different court, which is kind of good because you can't leverage one against the other. And the problem is here, the court systems are so messed up.
Mhm.
I mean, we can go on. That's another podcast. And I'm sure I would love to have the lawyer here and then we can actually have a deep dive into that because it's so frustrating. The amount of money that just gets sunk into mostly lawyers' pockets, but the whole court system,
Mhm.
and it's so flawed and it doesn't protect people that need to be protected, unfortunately. Kids, mostly kids. I mean, forget the adults, it's the children that suffer in all of this.
Mm.
The adults become little children. They want to fight to win and they don't consider the kids are like in this middle and they use them as pawns. I mean, on and on and on and on. Um, but why I say leverage is because to your point, how much money you give your spouse is indicative of also how much, like the time they have with the kids.
Mhm.
So if you have 50-50, then you're going to give less to your spouse. If it's 70-30 and they've got 70, you're going to have to give them more. Does that make sense? So again, some parents are fighting for 50-50 who don't have 50, who don't have the time to take on 50%.
Mhm. Just to reduce their fees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to win, just to not give the other person the money, not respect that that's the other person. And you'll find that it's like, who's the caregiver for so long and watching the kids don't have the kind of, financial means that the breadwinner has, right? But the breadwinner doesn't want to give the caregiver any money. And so it's like, well, their money, now it's their money. And so you'll have this fight around that, and so they're like, "Oh, well, we'll just take 50% of the kids so I can give you less." But they don't have the time because guess what? They're the ones who are working all the time.
Sure. That's wild. So you went through a difficult divorce for yourself, and then you became a mediator, family mediator, and then you started helping your friends and recommendations. Like, when did you decide to turn this into like a business?
So, I already had this idea in the UK. I was brewing with this idea of creating a community, an online community where I can help support people at a larger scale, and connect them to create more of a community with the with the, with other people who are going through it. I mean, I was so desperate during my time that I went to a church because it was a divorce support group, church group, and I was like, "All right, I've never even been to church, but I'm gonna go." Like, I mean, I did every now and then. I've gone with my mom, but like, I'm gonna go, and I'm just want to meet people who have experienced what I'm experiencing, right? So, create a community and really coach people through this.
Mhm.
So then, of course, I moved to America, and of course, there's accreditation of divorce coaching here in America because they know how to accredit like everything, right? Which is great. And I signed up for that, became a solidified divorce coach, which was a very intense program. It was amazing. I learned so much on it, actually.
Is that your title, like divorce coach? Is that something that you would like?
Yep.
Is that like on the business card?
It's not, I don't have a business card
Yeah.
so bad, but yes, it is. I am one. Um, and specifically, I also got even a further accreditation in the co-parenting part of things. That's my specialty, really, I would say. But again, that's all boiled down to like I could be a communication coach, to be honest, right? Um, so I did that, and then around that time when I first moved here, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this company. I'm going to create this community, and I'm going to call it Split FYI.
Yeah.
That's it.
I went to your website. That was cool. Yeah.
And so,
And you have a partner here too, right? Who
I
works with you on that? Yeah,
do,
right.
and she is a certified divorce financial analyst. I know.
That sounds very specialized.
It is.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's like, God, I wish I had one when I was going through my divorce.
Mhm.
I don't even know if it now probably exists in the UK, but it didn't before. And what it means is that they're really specialized in the financial aspect of everything.
Yeah, like how many Bitcoin are your spouse hiding on some wallet that you don't even
And
know
how
about?
are you gonna slice and dice it all?
Right.
And how are you gonna negotiate that? More likely, it's like, what do you need to negotiate? In court, should you go to court, or in mediation if you're in mediation? Right? So, it's giving you that kind of financial strategy, which is incredible.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so we joined forces and we got what we're good at and created this community and created.
Split.fyi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Split FYI. And had my coaching business called The Split Coach. That's who I am. And no, I do know how to do the splits, but no, I'm not teaching people how to do the splits.
Safer.
I could.
So, I mean, so what's the environment like here in the United States working with as a divorce coach versus in the United Kingdom? I mean, have you noticed a difference? Because you kind of got started in the UK,
Yeah.
and then you made the move out here. And I'm just curious, before we get into all the chaos that you've probably seen out here in Los Angeles, what's the kind of the difference between working in the UK on the divorce side and here?
Well, I'd say that, first of all, there's a difference in me. I'd say that I'm a lot more sophisticated in the way that I coach and who I am and what I've learned in life. So I was a rookie back then, and it came very much from my own experience rather than like what I've learned to be true. Right. So, but it's very similar. I think divorce hits everybody in the same place when, it's a massive life transition and, it's a happening.
Hmm.
And there's a grief process, and whether you want the divorce or not, you're grieving what you thought was going to happen or be, and it's no longer.
Yeah, it's
It's the death of something.
the death of something. Also, too, someone described this really well to me a few years ago. They were saying like it's coming to terms with the realization that the thing that you thought would last forever didn't.
Right.
So it makes you reset how you judge and believe in everything. So it's almost like a reset of your entire belief system. And they found that my friend who explained that to me was going through a divorce as well, and they were just saying that that was really the hardest thing because it was like I thought this would last forever. Like what else have I thought is perfect? What else have I thought is gonna last forever? What else have I thought I can't live without? And then being like, maybe I can live without all of it because
Right.
yeah, like it's just this whole like upending of everything that you've known to be true.
Well, it's kind of a reinvention of self, right? Because we have been creating our life around a construct of life. That's it. I mean, really, it's like we were born, we don't know anything, we're like absorbing everything. We're kind of telling adults and people around us and the things around us to tell us how to operate and to wire ourselves,
Mhm.
right? And we're like, okay, we're absorbing it all. And then we're in society which tells you, well, you got to go to school and you got to do this and you got to study that and you have to, behave this way and you have to behave that way and this is right and this is wrong and da da da. Like, whoa, we don't even understand what it is that we actually want. So society is telling us that marriage is forever. Okay.
Just to sell us diamonds.
Yeah. Basically, it's like, whoa, we're buying into this Hallmark dream, right? And, it's not actually that natural for two people to stay always together. Some people do it. Great. All the power to them. But there is a process in which, like, everyone's growing and sometimes people grow apart.
More often than not.
Right. And, or they're growing in different, you know, I don't know, speeds,
Mm.
I would say.
Yeah.
And I just had a conversation actually on a live Instagram live yesterday about this, about women, especially around women who slowly kind of uh they they kind of exit out of a marriage, in little tidbits. Like they're like little bites, sound bites, they're like, oh God, they're just I don't like this. I don't like this. They keep going with it, but they're realizing that, oh my God, I've lost a sense of self. And when they get into their midlife and they're like unapologetic and they're in their power and they're going through 101 hormones and all those things and they're just like, whoa, what's making me happy? Like I need what's making me happy and I don't no longer need to take care of somebody or because you get into a dynamic and a pattern in a relationship for so long.
Mhm.
You've been in it for what, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years? Well, then there is certain patterns that you have created in a dynamic that you've created,
Sure.
right?
And to have that fall apart is devastating, but also a lot in a lot of ways necessary.
Liberating too.
Yeah.
It's like you're free to actually explore yourself and really what it is that you like. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, it's too bad actually that so many people, like, completely lose themselves in that joining of unionhood. Like, it's so strange that people are become so codependent that
Yeah.
they lose touch with, like, who they are and what they want. Like, obviously, that's probably the healthiest version of a marriage is where two people can still remember who they are and what they like and be two independent beings that are stronger together
Yeah.
instead of, like, two codependent beings that totally forget who they are and what they all like, and they're just kind of bouncing around through life, almost sleepwalking.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I remember reading somewhere or I heard it. I don't remember, but I just remember they described like, back in the day, there was a village. You got married, but there was village of people around you, right? And so you were getting your resources from so many different aspects, your parents, your siblings, the community, your friends, all those things. So you weren't it wasn't an isolated experience having a relationship. And now most most relationships are in a silo. They're like there's just 2 of them and their families are far away and, their friends are living their own lives and you're not integrated in that society. So now you're asking your partner to be everything.
Which is a death spiral.
100%. Like,
Yes.
no way.
Yeah.
That's never gonna work,
Yeah.
ever.
Be my best friend, be my lover, be my provider, be my
Yeah.
protector, yeah.
I mean, and honestly, like and I will say this, and people are like, "Oh, it's not everything," but that sexual attraction is the one of the most things, like, important things to keep a marriage alive, and it's not even a sexual like, it's like wanting to be
Mhm.
intimate with each other, right? And when that dies out, it's because you're expecting that partner to be like everything else, like, does he or she have to listen to your problems forever? And do you kind of get lost in all of those things. Like you have outlets for that, right? Doesn't mean you're closer and you're stronger because you're sharing everything and doing everything together
Mhm.
at all. That's unhealthy,
Yeah.
you know?
Have some diverse friend groups that you can have as an outlet, right?
Has an outlet and you can have shared experiences, but you also should have experiences on your own where you're kind of teaching one another, you're experiencing things, you're making time for one another that is special, that where you can connect and, be, and I don't know, just light the fire again.
Yeah.
So,
It's a good way to describe it. So the work that you're doing here in the US is you're a divorce coach, you're a co-parenting coach. So who are your clients and how do they find you?
my clients are pretty much anybody who's going through a divorce, to be honest. I predominantly work with women. I would say my male, clients are about make up probably like 15% of my clientele, to be honest. Women tend to know how to ask for help a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's true. Men are terrible at that.
Yeah. Even though they really need it because I think I don't wanna generalize, so it's hard, but I definitely think that when they have been wronged in the relationship or they're angry, right? They tend to justify it because it's the other person who did everything, and they don't really tend to wanna look at themselves. Women have more of a tendency, maybe because they talk to a lot of women and we talk openly and we connect in a different way, to wanna dig deep and understand all of this stuff, right? I'm not saying that they don't blame the other person,
Mhm.
because they really do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really work with should I stay, should I goers?
Mhm.
I wanna leave my spouse, and I'm not happy, and I don't know if I wanna leave, I'm really unsure.
Wow, what's that like? What's it like having a client come to you and be like, I have a spouse that I'm thinking about leaving and I don't know
Yeah,
how to make that decision. That must be terrifying because like here you are and this person who is in need has come to you searching for advice about like
right.
and anything you say to them will completely shape their future, like either stay or go. You like it's gonna shape it either way, for better or worse. You don't know how that's gonna work, but that's intense having like that's not like a because I don't even want to have these conversations with my friends.
No.
Like I have them with strangers in the podcast, no problem. But like
Yeah.
when people pay you to for this kind of advice or when you're really close to someone, I think that because it yeah, that's just too much responsibility.
Oh, completely. But, the way I approach it is, first of all, I never tell anybody what to do, 100%.
I'm
But
sure you're much more professional than mine.
right, with a friend, you're a little more invested, and you're like, "God damn it,
Exactly.
just leave the person," or that they're not good for you, and then it bites you in the butt because then they end up staying with that person. So, yes, I always recommend friends not to give advice on that stuff.
You've been a shitty friend since you got married.
Right,
You should be single again. And then
exactly.
yeah, then
That person is not good for you. Doesn't bring out the best of you.
yeah.
But I first I do the logistics. So I'm like, okay, there's an emotional part and then there's a practical part. So let's walk through what divorce looks like,
Mhm.
right? And I'm not a legal consultant, so I'm not going to go into the logistics of the legalities of it. But this is what it will look like by and large, of the decisions that you're going to have to make, the things that you need to consider, right? So I want them to get their head around that too, right? Because that does factor in, right? To is this even worth it? I mean, is this like I'm kind of unhappy the way that he breathes, or, that he continues to like put all the clothes on the floor and I've just had enough, and, all those things then to like, and then like go to, oh, I'm just unhappy with myself.
Mhm.
Let's dig deep, and like then we come kind of go into, okay, what has changed for you?
Yeah.
What has changed for you? Like, forget what he does, but what has changed for you? What is that feeling? What is that feeling you used to have and now you have now? Let's tap into the feeling state. Let's understand really what it is. And it gets them to reflect a lot and to understand because again, so separate the two, right? So really understand, like, is it something that is fixable or not? Right? They have to understand that. And a lot of times people do walk away and like, yeah, it's not that bad. I don't think it's that bad that I have to like really walk away from it. I do love him
Mhm.
or I do love her. It's just my needs are not being met. So is there a way in which you can communicate your needs
Yeah.
that you haven't in so long because you guys got in a pattern? So I will actually do a lot of relationship coaching in the end because in that sense, I'll say, well, would you be willing to work on it? And if you are, can we walk down that path? Right? And if you're not, then let's walk down the path of like what it looks like for divorce. And because I will say this, women, and I say this all the time, they build a wall around them
Oh, really?
by brick by brick. Okay.
When they're in a marriage.
In a marriage, in a long term relationship, in a relationship, they kind of build a wall and they're like, okay. okay, this annoys me. This is really bad. And a lot of times they don't express everything, or they have expressed it, but it's been met with either defensiveness or not understanding. Because like I said earlier, women talk with emotion, men talk semantically, and it just doesn't vibe all the time. Um, so they really, if their last brick is laid, they're done.
Mhm.
They don't really go back.
Yeah, some people are just done.
Done.
Mhm.
They're done. And so they really come to me. It's like, it's not really, and even talking to me, they'll be like, no, it's really done.
Mm,
It's just like, I'm done.
yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you can still, like, have respect for your partner and still like them as a person and still be friends with them, but the marriage is done. Like, it's time to move on and
Great. They
yeah.
become like brother and sister. You know how many times I hear that, or we're roommates? I hear that a lot. But like brother and sister is really hard to come back from because there's a dynamic that you're like, okay, well, that's really like, there's like no sexual tension there, right? But roommates, that's a different story. That's, you're not communicating well. So is there a possibility? And let's go walk that path. So yeah, it's fun. That's fun. I don't look at it as like it's a heavy thing because people, they need to think out loud and they need a space in which they need to do that. So that a lot of times they're coming up with their own, like, I am just a space for them, a safe space for them to kind of walk it through, talk it through, all those things.
Yeah. No, it sounds like a really it's so valuable to have a space where you're not gonna be judged,
Yeah.
where you can just say how you feel and then just bounce it off of another human being and be like, "Am I crazy or is this not working?" Or,
Yeah.
or "Am I right to wanna leave or wanna stay?" Like, yeah, it's crucial and to have that person, like, not be your best friend.
Yes.
Because I think going to your friends and asking for relationship advice is terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. It really is actually. And even talking about your divorce with your friends.
Oh, yeah.
It's not, I always don't recommend it. I'm like, don't. Because it's always, I get my clients coming to me, well, so and so said this, and so this happened to them in their divorce, and this happened. I was like, every divorce is different.
Mhm.
Just because they happen to them this way, it doesn't mean you're going to have it happen to you that way. So it's like, oh, just don't talk about
Mm.
it.
So how many years have you been doing this now?
Oh, God, over a decade.
Wow. So you're like a real expert.
I mean, listen, are we experts at anything in life? We're always learning, but I feel that I can definitely hold, space for people in this 100%. I'm very confident that I can help them through this. And, a lot of people have asked me, well, isn't it hard for you that you working with these people in these like really tough situations? And doesn't it tap into like some trauma that you had? I was like, no, because I know they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I know it because I'm okay.
Mhm.
There's everybody I've worked with have all come out of it stronger, better, to be honest, and it's not because of me. It's all them doing that, right? I'm just holding that space for them and helping them get to it faster maybe, but they're all gonna be okay.
Set them on the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I reflect outside of what they're experiencing. It's like when you're experiencing a traumatic experience, you can't think of anything else and you're anxious and when you're anxious, it's only you
Yeah.
that is experiencing this, right? It's like, "Oh my god," and I can't think about anything else. The like, the rabbit hole that you'll go into or the mind spiral that you go in, it's like, it's incredible, and it's like, "Whoop," I help them, like, Just let's get out of that spiral,
Mhm.
not feel it." It's really important to feel what you're feeling, so let's not negate the feeling. Don't say, "Okay, I'm fine." Because 'cause you're not, but let's not think and get yourself into a worse situation. Let's focus on what the feeling is. Let's focus on why you're feeling that, right? Where is that really coming from? A lot of times it's their made up story.
Right.
It's a made up version of what's happening. It's not the reality and it's not actually what's happening. It's anticipation. It's like, oh my God, this is going to happen. I'm like, whoa, you're working yourself up for something you think is going to happen.
But it hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
So I'm also like that person that they'll just be like, oh my god, fine, I have to yeah, you're right, I have to stop thinking. It's like I just help them, remind them. It's that coach,
Yeah.
It's a coach who reminds you like, yeah, you kinda have to use your hand this way when you're doing a free throw. You gotta you're like, if you keep doing it that way, it's not gonna work, whatever. It's like, I'm just reminding them.
Yeah. It's such a difficult time in people's lives to go through. I mean, like you said, people will spiral, people will go down rabbit holes, people will ask the wrong advice from the wrong people. People will anticipate bad things happening even though they haven't. Like, people will project these bad things onto their partners
Always.
and then get the result that they were looking for and then be surprised by it.
Yeah.
Like, you've heard it all, right?
All of it, all of it. Oh, yeah, no, 100%. Catastrophizing, you know,
Catastrophizing. I love that.
it's like, oh, it's the worst. It's the worst, and especially deep in the divorce process. Wow, that's everyone is gonna experience that. Um,
Do you ever consult with people before they get married and be like, okay, so here we are, you're about to enter this union, and I also help people on the other side of this process. Like,
yeah,
this is how you can go into a marriage and try to get the most out of it, because I work with people who are getting divorced, and these are the things they always talk about. So these are
yeah.
maybe some of the things that you can do better at the beginning to maybe protect yourself from that spiral.
Yeah, split proof it. I always thought there should be like a document, split proof document that, that people sign.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes they fizzle out, right? It's not anything that you can do. But
Sure.
yeah, I'd be willing to work with people. I don't really get anybody coming to me. Like, people have asked me, "Oh, I'm getting married. What should I consider?" They'll say that, but I don't work with couples in that sense. I wish I did. I wish I could work with couples and kind of give them more of a structure.
Mhm.
And not be afraid of following a certain kind of structure and living by that rather than because what they don't realize is when they're in that love stage and I want to marry and because I love this person, I want to be with them, I want to wake up with them, all that stuff, right? That kind of dies out sometimes, but you're still in a kind of business together.
Mhm.
You had a home maybe, or you're renting, or you bought a home, and then you've got kids maybe, and you've got invested friends and friend groups and all that stuff. Like you're running kind of it's a operating system.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, how can you, make the best of this operating system and prevent maybe some of the things that people just don't address?
Yeah.
Address them. Be okay to address them. Have a safe place in which you can talk about finances. Talk about them. Talk about them like every 6 months, or if you want to, if that's the cadence, every month if you can, whatever, or once a year, whatever it is, tap in, talk about that. See if you guys are in the same place and maybe have a mediator or a therapist or somebody in which you count on to hold a space for you that's kind of safe that you can talk about those things. It doesn't mean you have to go to therapy all the time, but create a space. Could even be me, like whatever, get somebody that can hold that space for you that helps you hear each other in a way that you don't become defensive and aggressive or try to win or whatever, because it's not necessary.
How much of it is just boiled down to just not being able to communicate your ideas and feelings in a way that can be easily recepted?
Oh my God, I think I would shit, I would give that like almost in the 90 percentile,
Yeah.
100%. Like, I mean, almost 100%, but I wouldn't say 100 because there's other factors, of course. There's health, there's this. I mean, there are other factors, but communication breakdown is massive. When you're in early stages of marriage or early stages of even partnership, you're hearing from this love-based state that you're like, "Whoa, it's all peaches and cream." Like, you're not even listening that much. There's attraction, there's, that physical thing. You're feeling from some different state of mind, right? And then something happens. And either you're already married or you're dating far into it, and, like, something happens and the true color comes out, and you're like, "Oh, do I like this?"
Shit
And then
gets real.
she gets real.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, I like this, but, okay, well, I'll just deal with it." But, you don't really communicate anything around it. But what you do is fight. And then you do or it comes out as something because you haven't communicated and you've held it in, and then all of a sudden one day you say it, but you say it over something so stupid and it's not really the thing, right? So all of those things, and then the other person thinks, "Wait, what the hell? Where did that come from?" And then it's a fight. You don't even know what you're fighting over, right? How many times I hear that. So, and we're all victims of that because we're human, right? And it's like I said, we're not taught how to communicate clearly and effectively and learn how the other person communicates. Like, it's interesting because I can say the male energy, female energy freely, but equally, I've worked with lesbians. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Oh my God. So they're two people who speak from the emotion. Imagine that. That's crazy town.
So this is an aside, and it's not meant to be a joke, but it's kind of a joke. They said that the divorce rate between lesbians
Yeah,
is higher
yeah.
than men and women. So the divorce rate for men and women is like 50% or something. The divorce rate between lesbians is something like 70 or 80%, and the divorce rate between men and men, homosexual marriages, is something like 5 or 10%.
Yeah,
So
very low.
so people make all these jokes about, oh, it's women are the problem or something like that.
Right.
Like all these comedians. But that's crazy to think that that lesbian relationships are that volatile.
Well, I'll tell you why, because it goes back to what I was saying. First of all, women fall hard and fast and furious. There's that. But because they're falling in love with emotion. And oh my God, you get me because I'm speaking with emotion or from emotion, an emotional state. And you get me and you're doing the same. So I'm receiving that same energy. So that energy is like, oh, this is amazing and exciting. And then all of a sudden, it's also your enemy because you're like, oh my God, this is too much, right? So that's probably why. Whereas there is more of a balance with that, semantic way of being. A man is like, but you said this, so you mean this. Whereas a woman could say something and it means 500 things.
You said it, not me.
Yeah. But there's a superpower in that too.
I
It's
agree.
beautiful.
I agree.
It's as what makes a woman so beautiful though, like, and charismatic and a difference in a man. And that's where there is a part of a woman that craves that kind of safety that a man brings in just being like what I say is what it is, right? It's like, "Oh, okay." But also we can't understand it because you're like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" You know how many women will be like, what do you mean by that?"
Exactly what I said.
Yeah. And a man's like, "That's what I mean." And they're like, "No, no, no, no," because there's gotta be some other meaning behind it, and they're making up their own meaning, and they're making up and again, this is not because equally a man needs to understand that women have these emotions, and you should meet that emotion. You should be able to try to understand that emotion and where they're coming from, and not keep saying, "Well, where's this coming from? What is this?" Like, "I don't get it," because they're thinking by the words and thinking about the meaning behind it. So there's a balance, and only until you understand that balance or you're willing to or you work with it and within it, then, it's gonna be a bit of a friction in a relationship.
Do you ever work with couples together at the same time, like the male, yeah, or do you always just work with one side
I have, but those couples are usually amicable. Always amicable when
w-
I saying
when they come to you? Yeah.
and they're coming to me because they really kind of need, like, a structure around co-parenting.
Hmm.
But they're willing and able, and they're really happy, and they're fine. They've both decided, this isn't working. We're pretty amicable. We're putting the kids first. That's number 1, which is great, and it's music to my ears, but it's not always the case, unfortunately. It's very
And do you have like a husband or wife coming to you and being like, can you recommend a lawyer?
Yeah.
Like, how do I do this? You mentioned your partner is a divorce
Yes.
financial analyst. Like, so these are like the team you need to have around you if you are gonna go through this horrible process. So you kind of help them also put together this team to protect their interests, I guess.
I do, and
Yeah.
that's part of me walking through everything. It's like you can go down various routes, right? And ideally, mediation is the best. We all wish that everybody would stay in mediation because once a mediation happens, a lot of times people fall out, unfortunately. Because mediators do suggest always have a lawyer on your side who's teaching you what the law and what you're legally bound to have, right? And to ask for. So that can also like steer the pot a little bit. Ideally, it would be great to do it on a kitchen table and figure out how you really want to do these things. Like separate the finances, separate, the kids, like parenting, come up with a plan.
I think it's bad though if you can't even get to that stage. Like if you can't even sit down at the table with someone and be like, how do we want to split all this up? Like our life. If you can't even sit like it's gonna be terrible and endless.
Well, a couple of reasons because they're usually splitting up because, one person maybe has fallen out and just is like, I can't do this anymore. And the other person doesn't want to end their marriage. So one person is not happy with the whole thing, right? It's not two people who are like, yeah, this is the right move. In that case, it's a lot easier, right?
That was my divorce.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's why it went so well.
Yeah. Very lucky.
Very lucky. Um, realizing that we're just not compatible anymore. we're not anymore, which happens, and that's okay, you know?
That's why you exist in a wild space.
It's a wild space, and it's so interesting because lately I've been doing a lot of dating coaching.
Dating coaching.
Yeah, and so let me explain though, which is really interesting because and a lot all my clients have had either toxic relationships or long-term relationships or marriages, and they've come out of that and they're like, "Oh my god, the whole dating is like, what am I gonna do?" And so I'm not let me just be clear, I'm not giving them like dating tips of like you should look like this and you should do this. That's not what it's all about, right? Communication, yes. I do we talk a lot about that.
It's actually a perfect role for you because you see so much on the other side
Yeah.
of people coming out of marriages. So at least you can tell people how to date and at least, yeah, get off on the right foot maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and understand that, and, like, there's not a formula. Everybody thinks it's like a interview session. It's like, no, you gotta really feel yourself into this. It's like we've lost that connection probably because of the apps, probably because of all these things. I don't know, but, it used to be it's like, oh, someone's making you feel a certain way, and that's what you're liking, and you're going with the feeling, or you're attracted,
But
obviously.
but then you have to actually meet someone face to face. That's the thing that's not happening anymore, right? Like, what is it? The kids in their 20s now, like kids, like we're all old, and but kids in their 20s now, like they're not meeting face to face. Like
Yeah,
kids in their 20s are having less sex now than they've ever had
very
before.
sad.
Yeah, they're not drinking alcohol. They don't go out. It's a totally different way of growing up than for maybe what you and I grew up with, like in the 80s, which was
For sure.
in the 90s, which was more free and open, and we didn't have digital walls to hide behind. We had to go out into the world, and if you wanted to date someone, you had to meet them out in the world.
So crazy.
There was no way to find people
No.
without having to put on a jacket and shoes and go out into the
Phone
world.
on the wall.
Yeah.
That I got to use like 15, minutes maybe, or like a real phone. I mean, it was crazy. So great.
It was innocent, maybe more innocent now than hiding behind our digital walls.
Well, there's a hiding behind the digital walls, and I think there's a lot of confusion out there on how you can behave and you should behave. And I feel for men. I think they're very confused on what they can do. And I think women, all the power to them. I'm so happy that women are having this surge of like power, which they deserve, right? But in that power, it can be very intimidating for men. And even as secure as a man is, they're kinda like, "Whoa, am I supposed to say this? Am I supposed like, I really like this person, but am I gonna" like, they're overthinking everything. It's like, "Oh my god," and, first of all, just don't say that much. Listen. Most women just wanna be heard. It's like, start there.
I was reading something online a couple months ago saying like that the in thing now to do is that people will put their political leanings left or right into their dating profiles and then not want to date people who are on the other side of the aisle. And I just like, and I was just like, how fucking ridiculous is the world now that we live in, that that's like part of choosing a mate.
Thing.
Yeah.
Religion, politics, everything.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, and that's why you haven't given yourself that chance to figure out if this person is gonna make you feel great. And look, the element of attraction is got to be there. That's but women are more cerebral in that, like, they're attuned to the mind a lot more, right? It's less physical is important, but it's like, "What are you saying? Like, how are you making me feel when I speak, and what are you saying, and what can I resonate with?" That's important, whereas a man's like, "If you're hot," and
Yeah.
I mean, they're led by more the sexual desire, and that's okay, and that's normal, and I don't think that's anything wrong. That's how you're wired, how women are wired. Okay. Like, let's not, badmouth men because all they want is sex. I mean, let them that's what they want, It's not all they want. They want it because that's how they understand if they're attracted to somebody, right? And that's what they desire and that's what they need. So,
There was another Scandinavian study I read recently. Seems like they're doing everything quite interesting over there. But there was another one where they have this kind of expected exchange on a first date where you'll go out on a first date and you'll sleep together. And then if the sex is good, you'll decide to try to actually date and make it work. But if the sex is bad, then you'll just, yeah, but they do that right off the bat,
amazing.
like just to get it out of the way and be like, is there any real connection here? Or are we just wasting our time?
Well, that's pretty brilliant. And I would also say this they are
That's a lot of pressure though.
Well, it could be, right, 'cause, people are usually fumbly in the beginning because there's nerves, right? But they grow up, because I have a lot of Scandi friends, and they grow up with a very open like, openness around sex.
Mhm,
They doesn't have the same meaning that it has for us,
mhm,
or Americans, let's say, right? Or culturally in religion, God, I mean, how many, like, you feel you're always feeling
Guilty.
guilty. It's like they teach you to feel guilty about everything, and it's like, "You can't have sex until this, you can't." I mean, there's so many rules and regulations, and they just don't have that. I mean, they're free-spirited, they're walking around naked, they're like a different beast, and culturally, it's very accepted in that, and you know, you're not giving yourself in the same way as here.
mhm,
And I think part of what I was saying earlier is that a woman's like, "Well, if I do it so soon, then a man's just not gonna," they're playing games. They're always constantly playing games, like, "It should be this way, it should be that way. I don't wanna have se." Ooh, it's like 101 things. Now, if it's a boundary you wanna set for yourself because it's for yourself, not because what you think the man needs
mhm,
or woman needs, right? Like, vice versa. That's okay, but it has to be a boundary for yourself.
mhm.
What are
Not
you
not
saying?
part of a game.
Not part of a game, not because you think that that's what's, "Oh, that's gonna keep it longer, interested longer, or this is gonna happen." It's like, no, there's no formula to that. Some people get married after, like, the 2nd date.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, I know a couple that's still married to today for over, God, I would say 30, almost 40 years. They got married after 15 days
Wow.
each other.
Well, that shit happens. And arranged marriages have a higher percentage of people staying together because they don't put all that pressure on each other sometimes beforehand. Now they can be shockers, obviously, but
Yeah,
I've heard some positivity about that because it does take this idea of choice out of it, and it does, you know, force people to learn how to accept each other, which I think is something that doesn't happen when you have this illusion of choice sometimes.
totally.
Yeah.
I agree. Yes, I hear that often. I mean, I know also bad experiences with, in Pakistan, especially with arranged marriages, but by and large, and with that, I will go back to you're also kind of marrying the family, and so there's that, a lot of times. But maybe that's also helpful. So there's pros and cons to everything. It really depends on who the family is also. But there is again, that sense of community. If you have that sense of community, it's really great.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, really, it lessens that need for that one person to fulfill all these things.
Which is so much pressure.
So much.
Being in a relationship in a isolated silo, I think, is just a kiss of death.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. And that's why, like, when women say, "Oh, well, he's got, all these guy friends," and I'm like, "Great. It's amazing that he's got guy friends and he wants to spend time with his guy friends." You'll soon find out if you're not a priority. That's a different stake, but that's a great outlet. Let them have their things that they need, just as much as you need your girlfriend.
Absolutely. So, I mean, is there anything we haven't talked about on this chat that you feel like you wanna discuss around business and life, or you think like we hit it? 'Cause I love the space you're in and the stuff you get to see. I mean, I hope you write a book, change all the names, but you must have just seen some wild situations.
Yeah, no, book is in kind of the making. Well, it's early stages, so I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna come out with a book right away, but, I've already had an outline of one because, yes,
I see a screenplay with Reese Witherspoon as the divorce coach.
I love that idea. Let's ask her. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that there is more emphasis needs to be happening on there's other ways of divorcing
Mhm.
as well, and there's alternatives and there's choices you can make. And by the way, you're gonna feel a lot better at the end if you make those choices, right? It's unfortunate, like this one show that's just come out around divorce, which has been hyped up because I think the Kardashians in it or whatever. There's a lot of famous people that are in this show, and it shows like badass lawyers representing it, and it's like this, yeah, we're gonna win it, and I'm like, oh, why are they doing that? Because now you're glorifying the fight.
Yeah, paid for by the Law Association of America.
Yep,
Yeah.
glorify it
Yeah. Unnecessary.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah, where your legal bill is a $500,000 at the end of your divorce because you've got 3 lawyers driving around in Ferraris.
Totally. Now, I will say I do know some really great lawyers, and I work with them, and I have recommendations all the time, so people can always reach out and ask me if they are looking for lawyers in certain places. I've got, ones in various places, definitely LA, the UK as well, um, New York and Miami. So I've got lawyers that I know that you could work with. Let's put it that way. So,
Insanity.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an important job that you have, but also too, you must be overwhelmed on a daily basis.
So I really make the time for checking in on myself.
Yeah.
I really make that like a daily habit, like I'm going to work out, literally. And I need that space. But yes, there are days sometimes that maybe I haven't done that so well. And it can be overwhelming. But like I said, I am able to compartmentalize and know like they're gonna be okay. They need the support now, but they're not gonna need it forever like this. Right. Cause yeah, I do have a lot of clients who spiral a lot. A lot.
Yeah, because like, it's not like I mean, most of your clients, they're probably not on their 4th divorce, so they don't know how it goes. So they feel like that first divorce, they feel like that first divorce, that first marriage,
Yeah.
they feel like their whole life is crumbling around them. So, like, you can understand that spiral, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard.
You lose perspective of everything.
Well, you do, and you can't also think for yourself. You really can't, and that's okay too. It's all right until you do, because you will. Sooner or later, you're gonna come out of that, and again, with some support, it helps you. I always say therapy is great too, but sometimes therapy, you're kind of stuck in the story, and you just go over and over and ruminate about, like, what the story is, and then try to dissect it, and then try to, figure out from childhood what happened that you attracted this, and so all great. Okay, great, but that's not gonna help you through the process of divorce.
Yeah, sometimes you just need, like, practical,
Yes.
straightforward advice.
100%, and reframing and looking at it in a different way and understanding that's what's good for you. Is this working for you? Like, is this working for you? No, it's not so.
The thing I like the most about what you said was, some people are just like, I want to get divorced. And then you'll be like, Let me show you how that might look."
Yeah.
And then walking them through the process and the timeline and the cost and all this and be like, is that something you really want to go? I think that is something every potential divorcee should have to go through.
Yeah.
I also think they should go through it before they get married.
I
I think
know.
I think people should have to go through I think people should have to do like a mandatory 5-hour session with a divorce coach before they get married. I think that'd be fucking amazing.
I agree. I think that would be amazing. In fact, some cultures or some religions make you go and see like either the rabbi or whatever. And I think that's actually very like it's a good thing. It's a good thing to check in and be like, hey, are we on the same page?
Yeah.
And will we be on the same page? And can we have a check in on all of this stuff? Because life happens. People lose jobs, you can't get pregnant, all these stressors start happening in your life, you lose a parent, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, whoa, like we need to check in. Wait, we need to understand. Or one person wants to invest in a house and the other person just wants to go on vacation,
Mhm.
right? Or like, again, all very different nuances of, a relationship, but like you got to have a space and you got to communicate and communicate well, not from a place of anger, not from a place of fear, right?
Or moral superiority.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Which is a low vibration. You got to get into a higher vibration, and this is so LA language, I know, but I know. Higher vibration to actually, have those conversations.
Yeah. It's a wild world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, and I will say that, there's always a space for it, which is incredible, and I'm really enjoying, though, working with people who are looking to start a new chapter and in looking for another relationship. I love that because, by the way, it's always relationship with self first.
It has to be, right? Yeah.
Always.
If you don't love yourself, you can't love someone else.
Nope. No. And be very clear
Mm.
what your needs are unapologetically. It's like, it's okay.
Yeah. And then also I think accepting the fact that those needs will change over time as we all change. Like the person you marry is not the person that you're going to die with, right? So like you're all going to go through these waves of highs and lows and different spectrums and you have to be like ready for all of that.
Yeah.
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 It's not easy out there, is it?
No. No.
No.
But as long as you don't personalize it, I will say this, and one thing is really important that you got to get to a place where you don't personalize everything that's happening because it's you. A lot of times it's just that other person's experience, and their experience and your experience are very different. And that's the clash of it all.
Yeah. Not easy out there. Okay, so where can we find what's your URL again? Where are you on social media?
Well, on social media, definitely the split coach, basically, on Instagram and TikTok, I guess, and that's pretty much it. I have two websites, so thesplitcoach.com or also Split FYI.
Okay. Amazing. Well, look, thank you so much for coming and sharing your life story, which is amazing, and then also your career, which I find really fascinating. And I just feel like relationships and the way we communicate about them are so messed up these days that I think everyone needs to spend a little more time with someone like yourself to figure out who they are first, and then figure out like how to deal with their significant others second.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you very much, and come back anytime.
I will. Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Tune in next week.